Business owners, you need to get the word out. Are you looking for brand exposure, business expansion, looking for new clients, hiring remotely for staff positions, or hiring new employees to open additional offices? Are you looking to advertise new projects, start business partnerships, or seeking new business opportunities? Do you need to highlight new upgrades, features, or products? Promote up-and-coming events, seminars, classes, or celebrate business anniversaries and achievements with the world? Now's the time to get your commercial featured on my show. Send me an email for package pricing, and let's grow and expand your business together.
How my journey began. It's graduation time. Family is very important to me, including my puppies. The Marine Corps played a huge role in my life and allowed me to be ambitious, inspiring, a mentor, and achieve all of my goals. As a financial expert, I've received multiple awards, done various events as a guest speaker all over the U.S. with my platform of creating healthy financial habits, along with having my own business, all leading up to my show. Come along for the journey.
Hello, Gems, and welcome. For the month of May, I wanted to do something special to celebrate the different ways a female is considered a mother, whether it be a mother to her own children, a mother to other people's children, both family and friends, or being a motherly mentor, just to name a few. Not all women want to be a mother in a traditional way of pregnancy, and we're going to explore some of those possibilities throughout the month. So here are a few statistics on IUI. IUI, or intrauterine insemination, also called donor insemination, alternative insemination, or artificial insemination, is a procedure where a doctor puts sperm directly inside the uterus at the time of ovulation, which helps healthy sperm get closer to the egg for fertilization. Now let's break this down a bit. Before having the insemination procedure, a female may take fertility medicines that stimulate ovulation. Semen is collected from your partner or a donor. It goes through a process called sperm washing that collects concentrated amount of healthy sperm from the semen. Then your doctor puts the sperm right into the uterus. Pregnancy happens if the sperm fertilizes the egg and the fertilized egg implants the lining of the uterus. Women have, on average, about a 10 to 20% chance of getting pregnant with an IUI cycle. The more cycles you go through, the better their chances of pregnancy become. Now, one of the questions that we always get is, can you have twins or multiple births with an IUI cycle? Yes, you can. Given the nature of fertility treatments, the chances of multiple births while undergoing assisted reproduction procedures tends to be higher than natural pregnancies. The combination of washed sperm and fertility drugs means a greater chance of multiple eggs being fertilized during an IUI cycle. Now, the estimated cost of a typical IUI cycle is between $500 and $4,000. Again, you're going to want to check that with your insurance and the state you're in. Note that California, Louisiana, and New York have laws that specifically exclude coverage for these procedures. Now, an IUI should not be painful, and most women don't experience much discomfort during the procedure. The procedure takes, on average, about 5 to 10 minutes at the clinic and does not require anesthesia or painkillers. Now, what is the difference between IUI and IVF, or in vitro fertilization? With an IUI, the fertilization takes place internally with sperm being injected directly into the woman's uterus. With IVF, fertilization takes place externally or outside the uterus in a lab. So let's watch a brief video that will explain everything in better detail.
Intrauterine insemination aims to bring these fertile sperm as close as possible to the fertile egg. During a fertile woman's menstrual cycle, hormones trigger the release of an egg from an ovary, which then begins the process of ovulation. During ovulation, the fertile egg, which is ready for fertilization, travels down the fallopian tubes to await the arrival of fertile sperm. Intrauterine insemination aims to bring these fertile sperm as close as possible to the fertile egg. Before the insemination procedure, the sperm sample which is provided either by the male partner or a third-party donor is checked for quality, quantity, and safety in the laboratory before being filtered for grading and washing in preparation for the procedure. Once the sperm cells have been prepared, they are passed through a syringe and fine tube directly into the cavity of the uterus, where they begin their journey into the fallopian tubes to meet with the fertile egg. Only the most mobile sperm will complete their journey through the uterine tubes, and only one will penetrate the egg to achieve fertilization. There may, however, be occasions where fertilization may occur without resulting in successful pregnancy. There are many techniques available to help couples conceive and produce healthy babies. The most appropriate treatment will vary between couples, and a thorough consultation and examination are required in order to find the treatment with the best chance of success. As fertility in females decreases rapidly after the age of 35, it is recommended that infertile couples seek medical assistance as soon as possible.
That was a formative video, and I hope it helped both singles and couples learn more about their options. Now, for today's guest, she was born in Texas and has Dr. Pepper, Whataburger, and Bluebell running through her veins. Becoming a mother was important to her because she loved kids her entire life, and I always assumed she would be a mom someday. It wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. Her favorite lesson that she learned from her mother was hard work and being there to help those who need it. Her best memory of being pregnant was just pregnancy, because of course, after being told she would never conceive, every day that she made it further and further in a pregnancy was a miracle. She currently resides in New Braunfels, Texas. Gems, let's welcome fellow Marine veteran and CPS Conservatorship specialist, Jenna Hall, to our show. Jenna, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We're going to learn about your journey and what it took for you to get pregnant during this process. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm so excited to talk to you. Yes. So what made you finally decide to use IUI as a procedure for you?
So it had been quite a while since I had been in a serious relationship, and I had just hit 35. I knew my chances at 35 of conceiving were getting lower and lower with a first-time pregnancy. I also knew that the rate of birth defects once you hit 35 go higher. For instance, Down syndrome goes from 1 in 1,000 to 1 in 100, among others. And I just financially stable. I own my own house. I've been employed with the state for 8 years now. And I'm like, why not? You know, women get pregnant every other way. It's much safer for me to do it this way than to go have random one-night stands everywhere until I get pregnant.
Absolutely. No one night stands. That is a way, but that's not the way we want to go. Yeah. And, I always like to point out that, we always look at, becoming pregnant. A woman, any woman was born with the amount of eggs she's going to have throughout her life. That is it. With every menstrual cycle, we lose the amount of eggs that we have. This is not like men who reproduce sperm. That's it. The older we get, the less and less eggs that we get. So the difference between someone getting pregnant in their 20s when they have more eggs rather than in their 30s and or into their 40s. And we've seen women who've given birth in their 50s, but that window does tend to narrow down. And it's like you said, the chances of having complications does tend to rise. So talk with us about going through the process. This is so exciting for me. Talk to us about that.
So because I am a veteran, I went through the VA. I got a referral for a VA OBGYN, and the VA hospital here doesn't have a reproductive department. So they've referred me out to a private civilian, and they did all this testing to make sure I could even get pregnant,
Right.
and see if there were going to be issues with getting pregnant. And there was a couple times that there was one test in particular that was really painful.
Right.
They had to fill the uterus with a fluid that actually really burned.
Oh.
So it was quite painful, but it was really worth it in the end. And that's what I just had to keep telling myself. And it didn't last all that long. It was maybe 15 minutes. And at the end of everything, the doctor did tell me that I would never conceive a child naturally, and that if I did conceive by some miracle, that I would lose the baby before the first trimester was over. And so that was a really, really hard thing for me to handle. At that point, I really hadn't told anybody. I kept this journey really, really private. And so my mom knew, and that was about it, and maybe my best friend, but my sister didn't even know.
Right.
And so at that point I called and really needed the support of that system. At that point, the doctor did still want to try IVF, but however, the VA does not cover IVF in most circumstances. And mine was not one that would cover IVF, but they would cover IUI. And I told the doctor, I was like, I understand you're telling me that this will not work, but I have to try. I have to have the hope, and I have to try. Yeah. And I did it twice. The first time, they give you Clomid. Well, is what I was put on. There are other fertility drugs out there, but I was put on Clomid, and you take it. You start it on the first day of your cycle, and you do 5 days, and it's supposed to increase the size of your eggs, the health of your eggs. On top of, I had been on prenatal vitamins for over a year at this point, in the hopes of getting to this point. And so the first month I had 2 decent size eggs.
Yeah.
And they called like mid-level eggs, and it did not take. And the second time was December 8th of 2018. And I had 2 large eggs and a medium-sized egg. And I ovulate all 3 eggs at one time. And so there was concern, obviously, that I was going to wind multiples, because that is very likely. Right. And there are some women that with this Clomid, they're releasing 5, 6, 7 eggs at a time. And I also am one of those people that I don't think I could have aborted any eggs if they had fertilized and there were multiples. So that was a big fear for me as well. But I did conceive 1 child that I am aware of, and she implanted, and I found out December 23rd, which is the day that my family was doing Christmas.
Right. So let's take a step back, because there was so much compacted into all of that. So let's talk about picking a sperm donor and how you selected that process. So for those of you who don't know, like, picking the sperm is so vast. I had no idea that was so much. So kind of walk them through like all the different varieties that you can choose from.
So I had actually done a little bit of research just through before the fertility specialist recommended 3 different sperm banks that are quite reputable. And the one I had already chosen on my own was actually on that list. And so that was Fairfax Cryobank. And they are international. And so when you go to their website, you can actually you can look at all the different donors, and you can sort through the different donors. Like, right. I did, for instance, for me, it was very important that when my daughter turns 18, that she can reach out to the sperm bank and get the donor's information and do a meetup with him when she turns 18, if he's still willing at that point.
Right. Yep. With this consent. Absolutely.
And it also allows her, when she turns 18, if there's other siblings through this sperm donor, to get their information, meet up with them, as long as they're over the age of 18 as well. And so that was a big thing for me, because I essentially am starting her in her life with only half a family.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted her at some point to be able to reach out. I also sorted, I'm tall, and if it was going to be a boy, my brother is 6, my dad is 6 foot.
Yeah.
I'm 5'9", my sister's 5'9", so I wanted a tall baby that would fit in with my family. I've always had this dream of having a little girl with red curly braids down her back. And so I only looked at redheads and auburn hair donors. Unfortunately, she did not get that.
Right.
She does have lighter color hair that's got the reddish tint to it. So, but no, she didn't get the red hair.
She didn't get the red hair.
Didn't get the green eyes that he has. So you don't find out their names. There was other things that were important to me, just characteristics, being tall, a Caucasian donor, or a donor from or Ireland. Since I wanted the red hair, I looked at a lot of Irish donors. And I didn't care about the eye color. I didn't care about any kind of other traits, really, because you can even sort it by, you want him to have a master's, you want him to have a bachelor's. I looked at family history was a big thing for me, because that's one of the things they have to report on. So is there a history of high blood pressure? Is there a history of cholesterol? Is there a history of cancer? Mm-hmm. Those were all really important things for me to look at too.
Absolutely. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I actually have a baby book that I did of my pregnancy. And on the second page is the sperm bank name, the donor number. I have like some of his interests that were listed, right, and some of his talents. And that way, for instance, he plays piano. If she becomes a piano player, then I can say, well, you obviously got that from your donor, because you did not get it from me.
Right.
And a little bit about him, so that she knows some things about him.
Absolutely. And you brought up another thing too, because you can also sort donors through their baby photos and or adult pictures if they choose to do that. So was that one of those things that you were looking for as well?
I did look at the baby pictures. Almost every single donor that I looked at had a baby picture. And some had adult photos. And it also depends on, there's a lot more that you can pay to get. I didn't pay any additional extra to get like any of their written essays. Some of them wanted to pay for the adult photos. It wasn't necessary for me to know what they looked like as an adult. Right. He did not have an adult photo. One of the things that they also have is the staff impressions. And that was a big thing for me, that I could see what the staff thought of him.
Yeah, that's also good. Those first impressions, along with, like you said, the medical history, you can get genetics, you can get anything and everything, like she said, including ethnicity. You can literally pick out the type of sperm donor you hope to get for a good combination that you're looking for. So what determines the cost of the sperm? This is something I didn't know. And how much did you end up paying? Because I'm just like, well, you just always hear the jokes that the guy goes, he provides his sperm, and he gets $50 for a pizza. And for the women, so yeah, how do they determine, or what did you find out, like the cost of the sperm based on the quality?
So when I was researching, the one that I was looking at, they started about $799. And then they would go up. And what increased their value was if they'd had positive pregnancies, if they were in demand, if they were a donor that had been multiple times.
Right.
That would also increase their value. And the other thing I did notice on this one too is he is also a sibling donor. So even though he's not an active donor anymore, in the future, if I want a full sibling, I can request from the sperm bank if they can reach out to him to do a full sibling donation.
Wow. And that's because that's something that he put down on the documentation, that he doesn't mind being a sibling donor. And that means a lot. So that way, in the future, if a woman decides to do IUI again, at least you have a better chances of both children having similar traits.
Correct.
Oh, wow. Kudos for that. So the cost, $7.99 on up, what did you end up paying? Because you had a quality sperm, girl. You had quality.
Because I did notice that they don't tell you how many, but they did say that there was past positive pregnancies.
Yeah.
So I ended up paying $9.99 for my sperm. After the cost of shipping with a cryogenically frozen product,
Right.
they ship it straight to my fertility specialist. Okay. It costs $1,200
even, and that's just for one cycle.
Yes.
Right. So I know we talked about in the beginning, women may have multiple cycles, so it could be $1,200. There's not a fertilized egg or a pregnancy, you have to try it again. Then if you're choosing the same sperm donor, it could be another $1,200. But overall, the cost between this and an IVF, it's still cheaper, but those are just some things way cheaper. Those are just some things to keep in mind. On cost of the medicine, so how much did the medicine cost you a month?
So my medicine actually went through my private insurance because I had it sent to my local pharmacy, and they did, it was $35 with
Right.
my insurance. And the second time I did it, when you do your Clomid, you have to go back on day 11 to see how well the medication has worked.
Okay.
And that second cycle, that happened to be on a Friday. And I was going to ovulate over the weekend, which was a big problem because then I would have missed my window to get ovulate or to get inseminated. And so they actually had a shot that they had to give me that was $200 out of my pocket to force my ovulation that night so that I could come in at 6:30 in the morning on a Saturday to get inseminated.
Wow. Yes. So keeping those costs in mind, those for anything else, those things that come up that you may not be ready for. So just not only having the $1,200, but then having those other things that come on. So yeah, extra $200 just for that 6:30 a.m. appointment for ovulation. And one of the things I want to go over, because you were 35, oh my gosh, healthy, young, not that we're all aren't healthy and young, but how was that being labeled as geriatric, going through this pregnancy, the whole entire ordeal, and how did it actually help you throughout the process?
So the first time I heard it, I was like, wait, no, I'm only 32.
Right.
5 years old, I am not geriatric. And then partway through my pregnancy, they actually changed the term to advanced maternal age, which sounds a little bit better, but still not the best terms. I'm like, I'm 35. I am in my prime. I am not geriatric.
Right.
And so it actually did help me because when you are advanced maternal age pregnancy, for your first time pregnancy, then you have monthly ultrasounds to check on you and to check on the baby. And so every month I was getting an ultrasound and I was getting to see her more and more and more. Then if you're a typical pregnancy where you get an ultrasound at 12 weeks, you get another one at 20 weeks, and then you might have one at the end of your pregnancy. I was getting them every month on top of the ultrasounds that I was getting with the doctor.
Absolutely.
So that was really beneficial. And they printed them out, and so I have them all in her baby book.
So cool. So those are the benefits. I always try to look for the bright side of things. Yes, they labeled you this horrific name of geriatric. Like, why do we have to be a label? Why can't I just be a woman seeking fertility treatment? But you use it to their advantage, and you got more things to put into her baby book. So that was the advantage, taking someone that, a situation that could otherwise just be, if I heard that, I'd be like, wait a minute. No, you're acting like I'm in my 80s. But right. But, using that to your advantage. So how long were you on the medication before you received the call that hey, you're going to be ovulating and we need for you to come in here to get the procedure done?
So you're on the Clomid 5 days.
Okay.
And then you go in on day 11 and get a scan. The first time they're like, oh, you have about 6 or 7 days until you ovulate. Right. And they tell you that you actually can buy over-the-counter ovulation sticks that are similar to a pregnancy test, that you pee on them and it'll show positive when you're ovulating. And then you call the doctor and you're in that next morning. And so the second time just happened to be that, hey, you're going to ovulate in like a day or two.
Right.
And we don't want to miss this because Saturday and I ovulated Sunday. By Monday, when I came in, it wouldn't have been.
The window would have closed.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So again, I'm learning all this stuff. So be flexible with your schedule. This is not the time to be visiting, a family and friends 3-4 hours away, because how close was your clinic to you?
So in New Braunfels, my clinic was in San Antonio, so it was an hour away. So when I had to be there at 6:30 in the morning on a Saturday, I was up at 5 to leave my house to be there by 6:30.
Absolutely. So all those things to keep in mind. This is when you're in it, I say you're in it, and you need to kind of put everything else to the side to make sure you allow yourself, that opportunity to make sure you're at all of those hashtags, those markers throughout the pregnancy. So finding out you were pregnant, you said December 23rd, you tested positive during the holiday season. And what was that like, finding out?
Scary.
Yeah.
Really. Because I was told that it wouldn't happen, and then that I would lose her. And so I was absolutely ecstatic on top of everything. That was my number one, just being ecstatic. And then just being scared because I was calculating it out, and February 14th was my 11-week mark, 11 and a half week mark. And I'm like, am I going to make it to Valentine's Day with this pregnancy? Mm-hmm. And so even though I was pregnant and I was super excited, my family knew, and that my family was all here. And so I was able to, my dad doesn't. My dad, we do separate Christmas with my dad. Right. So my sister, my brother, my mom, my aunt, they were all here at my house. And I just ran out of the bathroom and I'm pregnant. And my sister got here and I met her at the door and I was like, guess what? You're going to be an aunt. So it was really exciting, really exciting. And I told my boss immediately, but I really didn't tell many other people at work because I didn't want to go through the heartbreak later if I had to.
Right. And then, so you're going through the pregnancy. What was it like being pregnant? Because you didn't have no morning sickness, girl. You was just like glowing and what was that? And you lost weight. Hello.
I did. I actually lost 40 pounds during my pregnancy. Mm-hmm. Every time I went in, it was more and more weight off. I weren't worried because I was already a bigger girl. And so they're like, no, we're not worried at all. She was growing appropriately. Her tests were always coming back. Because I was advanced maternal age and because I was overweight, I had to do that glucose test like 3 times.
Right.
And they couldn't just do the blood draw. They actually, that one where you have to drink that nasty drink and then sit there for an hour and do it again. And if you throw up, you have to do it all over again. They can't count it. And I could not just chug it. I couldn't actually start bringing my own straw in a bag. And like the plastic straws from my house, I had to bring that and you only have 5 minutes to do it.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's a little jug like this. So it should be easy, but it's such a horrid taste.
Right.
That I struggled to keep it down.
right? And then you at 12 to 13 weeks, you have the genetic testing and gender reveal.
I did. So of my advanced maternal age, they did say that the genetic testing would be almost mandatory.
Right.
They very highly pushed it. And I wanted to know ahead of time because I'm a big time prepare for everything and I need to. And luckily, she was perfectly fine. I got the phone call while I was driving, and they even asked, "Is it okay to say it right now? Do you need to call us back?" And I actually had some kids in my car that I was transporting, and so they got really excited to hear that it was a girl. And I stopped on my way home. I bought pink roses and an It's a Girl balloon because my mom just happened to be visiting that weekend.
Yeah.
And walked in the door with them, and she was super excited because I have two nephews, and so she wanted a granddaughter so bad.
And she got the granddaughter. So how did your family react to you becoming pregnant the unconventional way?
So my mom's side of the family is really super conservative. Mm-hmm. And my grandparents spent their whole lives in church, Bible Belt, part of Texas.
Yeah.
So I did struggle with how I was going to tell my aunt and the possible judgment.
Right.
My mom was really supportive from the beginning. Right. My aunt was supportive, and she definitely preferred me to go this route where it was safer than to do an conventional method.
Right.
And my daughter's got everybody in my family wrapped around her finger at this point. So they are all thrilled that I did this.
Absolutely, because you brought up a good point, right? Rather than going the conventional, traditional way, in this aspect, you get to do the choosing. There is no spousal child support if there's any type of arguments going down the way. There is no child custody situations. It's just you. So there are definitely a ton of benefits going this way. So choosing to become a single mother is very courageous, and I commend you for doing that. So how did you ensure that you had, a village around you to help with raising your daughter as a single mother?
So I have a really good village. I was very active in my roller derby team at the time, and so they're big, still to this day, even though I don't skate anymore, they're big support because it's a big group of strong, badass women. Being a female Marine, I've got so many other female Marines, especially here in the San Antonio area. Another female Marine and I were actually going through our pregnancy at the same time. She was ahead of me. Mm-hmm. She suffered tragedy during her pregnancy, unfortunately, and lost both of her babies. But she now has a little girl that's 9.5 months old. So she's just a little bit less than a year younger than mine. And so we baby play dates and things like that. Now that we're all vaccinated and COVID is settling down a little more, we're going to be doing a lot more together. I have a lot of my friends and family that still haven't even met Matilda because of COVID. And it's been a really struggle to have this village, but my mom is still here. She was supposed to stay a few months after Matilda was born, and she ended up staying because of COVID, and I wasn't going to put my daughter in danger with all of this. Of course, my job, I work for Child Protective Services, and so it's extremely family supportive. I've had times where I've taken my daughter into the office before COVID. And before we were shut down, I would take her in and someone would watch her, where I would meet with a parent or whatever.
It's Matilda Day.
It is. And they are like, everybody always asks, are you bringing Matilda in? And it's funny too, because at work, we had 6 of us that were pregnant or getting ready to adopt a baby within a 2-month period.
Wow. Something in the water, something.
You know, it was. That's what everyone kept joking. We're not drinking the water here. Yeah, it was crazy. So that's been nice too, because I have the other moms that
Yeah.
are the same.
And absolutely, setting that up when you decide to become, especially a single parent, making sure you have the financial stability, that I call it the vision, but like you said, your friends, your family, and your job. It's so important to have your job on board, your career, so they know, hey, she's a single mother. We need to make sure that we support her and encourage her doing all of the things that she's going to need. So do you think you will use IUI in the future for another sibling?
Possibly.
Right.
Financially, I can afford one. I don't know that I can afford two unless something drastically changes with my pay, or unless I win the lottery. But I would be open to it again in the future. I'm not ruling it out,
Right.
but I don't see it happening unless there's a drastic change.
Absolutely. Just he sounds just like every other parent. I don't know. Let me see. So, but yes, it's also great that you have all those other options. So, what are some words of encouragement you would give to both single women and couples who are considering IUI after going through the entire process?
Be prepared for the heartache and the letdown, because
Right.
it's like you said in your statistics, 10 to 20% of it works.
Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to get pregnant at all, so don't give up hope.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit petty because I took her birth announcement and I sent it to that fertility doctor with a note that says, remember this next time you want to tell someone that they're never going to get pregnant.
That's right.
And, if it's something you want, then do it. Don't worry about anyone else's opinion. If you can do it, then do it.
I love that. And those are definitely good words, because your body, I always say, your body has a mind of its own. There's medicine can go so far, and then your body's like, you want a baby. And off you go, because you're not the only friend that I have that was told, you're not going to get pregnant. Don't even try it. Just, go get a dog, go get a cat. And they have 2 kids. They have 1 kid now. They're like, I don't know what happened. My body was like, yay. So definitely good words of advice. So gems, it's time for your financial tips. And your financial gems for today are: when purchasing things, always ask yourself, is this a need or a want? And we've heard this before, but I always like for you to hear it from somebody else. Because if it's a want, how many other wants have you bought with the same paycheck? I love that. How many other wants have you bought with the same paycheck? Number 2, keep multiple checking accounts, specifically labeled for different things. You can have one for a baby account, a car, a house, a fund, emergency funds, just to make sure you're keeping them separate and not commingled. Always keep a minimum of about $1,000 in a savings account in case of emergency. I say a minimum because you may have in another emergency that's more than that. As Jenna said, it wasn't an emergency, but she had a $200 procedure that needed to come up to help those dreams come true. You need to make sure that you have that. Number 4, do your research and save for the things you want in life, because they are definitely obtainable. And finally, don't wait to start living your dream. Tomorrow is never promised. Live for today with no regrets. As she said, if you want to do it, do it. Don't mind what anybody else says that you can or can't do. It's your life. Take control of it and go ahead and do it. So Jenna, it is our show custom to have every guest provide our gems with an inspirational quote. What is your personal inspirational quote you would like to share with us today?
The one I've always lived by is a Latin phrase, but I'll just translate it. It's a rough road leads to the stars.
I love it. Now say it in Latin if you know it in Latin. If not, that's okay.
I know ad asira as I can't remember the rest. I know it's actually on a plaque at the Kennedy Space Station in Florida, where the shuttle blew up on the launch pad.
Yeah.
And so when I first saw that, I actually saw it in Armageddon years first came out, and that always stuck with me.
I love that. A rough road leads to
the stars.
I love that. I love it. Well, Jenna, thank you so much for being on our guest today and sharing your journey with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, thank you. And Matilda is so beautiful. She's gorgeous. You are an awesome mother. We love that.
Thank you. I'm very happy that I did this journey.
Good, good, good. You're going to be definitely inspiration to everyone else out there who's even considering it. So thank you for that. So Gems, creating healthy financial habits is a lifelong commitment. Remember, without change, there'd be no butterflies. Changing habits, changing lives, and changing futures are all up to you. Till next time, Gems, take care.